Hello, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We've got a great webinar for you about why partners need to embrace digital marketing. We've got a top 10 list on how you can push them in that direction. And today we're joined by Heather Margolis of Channel Maven Consulting, a great company that we partner and work with. And we also have Stephen Kellam, our SVP of Sales and Marketing, on the line. Here's a glance at our agenda for today. We are going to get to that top 10 list, but first we're going to do a couple things to tee that up. We're going to talk about why digital marketing is so important to the channel. We're going to look at the new buyer's journey and really the way the landscape has shifted for a buyer working with one of your partners and why digital marketing is so important in that context. Then we'll get into the top 10 things that you can do to encourage your partners in digital marketing. And lastly, we'll wrap up with a summary and questions. If you do have questions, please enter those, type those in as we go through. We'll set aside some time at the end to go ahead and answer those. With that, I'm going to pass it over to Heather to start taking us through the webinar. Here you go, Heather.
In talking about why digital marketing is so important to the channel, first, we need to talk about what social media is not. Well, for business anyway. You can do it on Facebook, but social media is not about what you had for breakfast. It used to be. Remember in Twitter, someone would say, great oatmeal this morning. That's not how we should be using it, especially for business. It really needs to attract your audience. So it's not about Timmy using the potty, very cute, leave it for Facebook. And it's not about how cute your dog is, but can we pause for a second, please, because that's my dog, and isn't she cute? She's usually sitting right in front of me at the office. We took her out today just in case there'd be any barking. It's really, if you think back 10 years ago, those of you that are in sales or marketing, the customer buying process used to be they had an awareness, they needed something, and they went to their service provider or solution provider or the company that they always knew could give them feedback and help on that, and made a purchase. And now, regardless of the size of the business, some might say, but there's so many more smaller businesses that don't have that IT department or don't have the CIO that they can go to. But regardless of the size of the business, all of us have trained ourselves to now go find information for ourselves. So we're searching and then purchasing. We're looking at review sites. We're hearing about a substitute on LinkedIn. We're asking a friend and going on social to people we don't even know, saying, hey, is this how we should be purchasing a product, or is this a product that we should be interested in? It really depends on who their network is, and the challenge for you then becomes, how do you ensure that when your customers, your prospects are searching for something, they're actually finding you? A lot of times I hear from people who are networking with their current audience, their current customers, that the customer went and bought something from another company because they didn't know that they could have provided that service for them. So even your current customers might not know the full breadth of your offering, and it's something that's important to be promoting all of the different things that you do so that when your customers who love you and love working with you have a need, they know that they can reach out to you as well.
It's been interesting. I've been traveling around the country a lot lately, and this has really sunk in different areas and in different ways. But I think the short of it, and everything that I'm hearing and I'm seeing, is it just boils down to, and today you need to be on the short list. There's so much preparation that goes ahead of making a buying decision today in this buyer's journey. I mean, this slide's showing that 50% that buyers are 50% towards their purchasing decision by the time they engage a salesperson. I mean, that has a lot of ramifications, right? And to me, one of the most interesting ones is, boy, better be a lot smarter when that buyer gets there, because they're a whole lot more prepared. There's good in it that when they get there, you're going to be in a much warmer situation. But I think you nailed it, Heather, in that if you don't make that short list, you don't have a shot. And if you haven't put yourself in a good position, or help your partners put themselves in a good position to be in that short list, they're just not even going to get talked to.
That makes a huge point too, the depth of your content. So a lot of companies will say to me, but I don't want to give away the solution. I want them to call me. But if you're not sort of telling them how they should solve their pain point, someone else is, and that's the person that they're going to reach out to.
Yep. Yeah, and so it's an interesting. There's a great video here. We don't have time to take you through it. It's available to be downloaded afterwards with a bit.ly, and it really is about the 0 moment of truth. And there are folks in here from GE and from Google, from FedEx, a lot of folks talking about how before there were 3 basic places where you would engage with someone. And now there's a 0 moment of truth, and that's really all about the research, as you talked about, Heather. And it's getting so possible for individuals to find out all the details about your offerings that it's really important to make sure that those partners are presenting themselves and you as well as possible.
Right, and it's important to not back them up on their buyer's journey. So if they've gotten 70% of the way there or 57% of the way there, when they show up, you don't want to start saying, so what are your goals? What are you really trying to accomplish? They've already figured that out. You need to take the conversation from where they are arriving at your doorstep, basically.
Well, and so this is where it's pretty interesting. We'll end up talking about this more later on too. Is about how what a salesperson is going to be very, very different. There was one a webinar that I think was out last week saying there was going to be 1 million B2B sales folks looking for a job. I don't know if that's going to be true. I just think their job's going to be a whole lot different. I mean, they need to integrate sales and marketing together. They need to be prepared for that moment when they have that contact with that client. And even when they have that moment of contact, it's going to be a different journey. It's going to be a zigzag journey moving forward, not a straight line. And so there's a lot that has to go into preparing those salespeople for that.
Totally agreed. I think we should have called this webinar Digital Sales and Marketing.
We'll just run a seminar on that one.
Starting over. So another thing to keep in mind, and all of you on the phone know that your partners are not just working with you. They're working with anywhere between 5 and probably more likely 25 other vendors. That means that all of you have your certification programs and your products and solutions and your resources that you are communicating to partners about. You are then bombarding your partners with noise, so they're not tuned into the great resources you're sharing. That means that the top 10 ways that I'm about to show you, as you communicate these, you need to think about doing it using social as well. Make sure that you're not sending an email for every resource that you're providing partners with, because they'll tune out, and chances are they'll come back to you and say, boy, I really wish we had more lead generation resources from you. And when I was in that role, I would turn around and say, but we have all these great things, and they just don't know about them because they're bombarded. So first, think about how you communicate to partners. Then think about how your partners are communicating to customers today. Every single one of us is so incredibly bombarded by information, we've started tuning it out. I mean, I started talking about this 6.5 years ago when DVRs first came out and satellite radio. Like, we all have ways of getting around information, and today it's RSS feeds and it's spam filters, and we're just we're making sure that we aren't bombarded. But it's also changed our habit to just tune out mentally. I mean, I can walk down the street and see ads on a subway and not even realize that I just saw something. We really need to be and make sure that our partners are where customers want, when they want them, and it's so incredibly important that we do it without being this guy. This is the, hey, how you doing? I want to sell you a car, or apparently a leisure suit. But it's really incredibly important that you're helping your partners market and sell to their end customers without bombarding and without being too pitchy. That's not what we want today. We want someone who's going to solve our pain points, not someone who's just going to talk about speeds and feeds. Other partner challenges to keep in mind before we dive back in is they usually just have one marketing employee. If they're big enough where they have an entire marketing team, again, they're not focused on you, they're focused on building their brand and selling a joint solution. So you really need to think about ways you can interject your value so that the larger guys will pay attention, and certainly those smaller folks just have one marketing employee. Sometimes it's the receptionist. And they're on a shoestring budget. Sometimes they're getting funding from you, but you want to make sure that they're using it correctly and not just doing a golf outing. They have very little marketing experience and/or, that should say, think they know everything. That's the worst, when they have no marketing experience but think they know everything. I once had a partner say to me, Heather, I found $5,000 and I went out and rented a billboard. No. A billboard, and it had a QR code on it. So, you know, as people were speeding by at 80 miles an hour, they could snap the QR code. Not really. They're confused about where to start, so they just sort of shrug their shoulders and throw up their hands and say, okay, I don't know. Or they have too many resources from too many different vendors that don't work together, so it's not helping to tell that story either. So again, you want to ensure that as your partners go through this digital journey, as your partners' customers go through this digital journey, they're finding your partners. They're finding the information they want. It's not too salesy because you've taught your partners not to do that. And it actually helps to solve a pain point and bring them further along that journey, not back them away from the point where they have arrived.
Yeah, Heather, I was just going to make one more point on that one real quickly, and that one of the reasons we put this in here twice, and it was on purpose, was to emphasize this. And I guess we just want to be really clear that, I mean, this is such a big paradigm shift. And I truly believe that this is going to create a separation from the good and the not so good on marketing on partners. And you know, it's interesting. We thought, hey, you know, the cloud is going to kill a certain group of partners. Only so many are going to migrate over, and that's going to be a culling of the herd to a degree. I think this is going to be a massive culling of the herd. And I think there are going to be partners who logically can embrace this. And then there's partners that are going to need a lot of help, which is where Heather's going to walk in this top 10. But I see this as probably being going to be one of the biggest differentiators for success of partners moving forward.
I totally agree. Absolutely. So now let's jump into the top 10 things you need to do today to enable your partners to use digital marketing effectively. The first is really help your partners differentiate yourself. There are hundreds of thousands of partners out there. So when it's important for your partners to stand out, to ensure that their customers know how to reach them, you want to make sure that they're not getting, they're not part of the herd. So think about your partners and their names and what you need to get out of them differentiating themselves as well, and their services. One personal story I have for everybody, my maiden name is Woitherstein. Bane of my existence growing up, but if you Googled me, you only ever got Heather Woitherstein. When I changed my name to Heather Margolis, first of all, how psyched was I, because I lived in Boston, and to everyone else I was Heather Margolis instead of Woitherstein. But it enabled me to be able to when I searched for myself online, I found that not only were you finding me, but you were also finding the most downloaded woman on the web. And she's not the most downloaded woman because she's a smart consultant. So it was really concerning for me and ensured that I needed to figure out a way to differentiate myself. And this is true for your partners as well. So I always use my middle initial, K. Now, from a corporate perspective, if your partners are not getting optimized for their own company name, that's a huge problem. So think about how partners can first differentiate themselves. What can you do? Assess their current status. Search for them online. And this is probably information for those of you in channel marketing or partner marketing, that it needs to be more of a partner-facing person. It needs to be the channel account manager, the field marketing manager. Assess all of your partners' online status, or at least, you know, the top 30% of partners. And again, those nationals, they probably don't need this help. They've probably had a company come in and do it. But watch out for the little guys, or those that are not as focused on marketing. help partners leverage keywords. So not just their name, but also solution keywords or pain points that customers might be having. And so just ways they can differentiate their name. If they are ABC Technology and there are 10 of them, they need to maybe change their name. I'm not big on rebranding. I'm not big on the all-new website. It's just not worth the money. But for a B2B business, it is important that partners sort of think about how they're talked about online so that they do benefit from SEO. I was just looking at both of our logos. I think it's sort of funny that I don't know about CCI, but Channel Maven Consulting was done on the back of a napkin in about 15 minutes. So from a B2B perspective, the logo is not a huge draw. It's more about how they're branding themselves online.
You know, Heather, when I was a partner, I went through this, and the same thing with the logo. I spent more time in the beginning trying to figure out the logo. What a waste of time that actually turned out to be. I don't think I ever sold anything extra because of my logo, but
right.
Creating my brand and differentiating myself and investing in that paid huge dividends. So I totally agree.
Absolutely. So number 2, show partners how to build an online presence. When they're searching for themselves, make sure, and you're helping them, make sure that the stuff that is coming up is what they want to be promoted for. So when I search for myself, I have my Twitter account, our website, I have our blog that comes up. It's all stuff that I would want to come up. And at one point I had searched for something, and a picture of me as a little kid from somebody's Facebook page came up. So I just went and untagged myself and made sure that what I was getting out of the conversation or what they were seeing when they went to search for me was exactly what I wanted them to be seeing. Show your partners how to update their profiles. So I'll walk through LinkedIn, but it's the same for Twitter and Google Plus and all the other online platforms. First, their name needs to appear the same way in all of these places. You want to ensure that they're easy to find. So one of the things that you can do if you look all the way down to the bottom left of the LinkedIn profile, you'll see the public profile link, https://www.linkedin.com/in/Heather K. Margolis. When a partner first logs into LinkedIn and opens their account, they're given a jumbled mess, but they can edit that to they are more easy to find, and they're also going to be able to then take that link, and I put it on the back of my business card. I want to make sure that there is there isn't anything that's going to stop somebody from being able to find me on LinkedIn. Also, making sure that their tagline is updated. So here I have channel program and marketing enthusiast, speaker, wannabe author. Something engaging, something that people will want to connect. The idea is that you want to ensure that partners connect correctly and they're able to see what the partners are providing to them. You want to make sure that you hide vacation photos and you hide an incomplete LinkedIn profile. So to obviously not embarrass anyone, we shut this down, but you also want to make sure that people aren't just putting out there that they are out on LinkedIn and they have no information. You want your partners to be filling in all of their information.
Heather, I got a quick point on that one, just living through this, right? In particular, as you look at your partners from digital natives versus perhaps immigrants, and LinkedIn, I think, is a real good case for this because it tends to trend older. But you have cloud providers, you got young partners in some way who sometimes I think get confused between Facebook and LinkedIn, and they really need to pay attention of how they're presented and perceived in places like LinkedIn, because if they don't do that correctly, looking at that picture you had before about the vacation, or pointing their fingers that I'm number one, it really can cause some problems.
Agreed. And you want to ensure that not only are they presenting their products and solutions the way you want, but it's also important that on that website link, I'm going to go back to that slide for a second, that they can also put in, if you look at my link, down here on the bottom with the websites, I have Channel Maven Consulting, Channel Maven Services. This is where your partners could put, you know, company XYZ homepage and then our vendor XYZ solution. So it's a great time to suggest to your partners, especially if you're one of their top vendors, that they link to either a page on their website where your products exist, or they link to a blog post they wrote about working with you, or something that drives home that they are working with a specific vendor and their solutions. So then the next step is to ensure that your partners are connecting with people. Why? Well, if they're about to post out great content and they only have 5 connections, no one's really going to listen. So it's important that they are driving connections with people they know, and even sometimes people they don't know. The first thing we suggest for them is to use the people you may know function. The next is that they go into some of their colleague LinkedIn profiles, that they download their contact information, or upload their contact information, I should say, to connect with all their current clients and prospects that they're already communicating to on a regular basis. So increasing those connections is another way to drive further engagement as well. The next way that you as a vendor can help your partners really enable them to do digital marketing is by building educational materials that really work. So, you know, saying, here's a 2-hour webinar and you should be learning all these different things from that, knowing that they're not necessarily savvy marketers or savvy salespeople, isn't realistic. You want to ensure that you're giving them what they need. So, as they say, give a person a fish and you feed them for a day, teach a person to fish and you feed them for a lifetime, but create a good tutorial and they can teach themselves to fish. So really think about how you're enabling partners to be better marketers. Some ideas for you, certainly webinars, but we like to keep them a little shorter now. I would say 45 minutes max. Give them time for questions. Always a good idea to do guides, making sure that they link back and forth to different locations. Keep in mind that guides might get stale, and all of this gets stale, especially if you're talking to them about marketing. But guides you can at least quickly update and send back out instead of a webinar which you have to re-record. Your executives, this is huge. Your executives are the thought leaders who should be pushing all of this great information. So having them write a blog post on different aspects of digital marketing. There's search engine optimization. There's finding a place to get great content. There's creating content like infographics and videos. All of these different touch points, I could go on forever. There are probably 100. Those should be coming from your executives in the form of blogs so that they can more easily be updated. It takes, you know, a day to update an executive blog. It probably takes several weeks to update a guide, and it probably takes a month or so to update a webinar. Educational videos, those are kind of my favorite. I've been told I'm a little bit of a ham. I like being on video. The videos are great, though. They need to be concise, snackable pieces of information. A 3-minute video on SEO versus a 1-hour webinar on digital marketing as a topic is going to be much more effective. And then you have the ability to do 10 videos instead of 1 webinar. All of those videos, partners can pick and choose. If they're not interested in social selling or they're not interested in SEO, they're not spending the time looking at those. But the things they are interested in, using LinkedIn for demand generation, website analytics, whatever the case may be, is really going to be more effective for them. And you'll see that the topics that are more interest to a broader group are going to get more views. That doesn't mean the other topics aren't important. It just means that it's a good thing they were separated out so that it didn't distract from the content they really wanted to see. And then certainly partner summit content. One of our favorite things to do is go to a partner summit or a sales kickoff and sit side by side with the partners and help them update their LinkedIn and Twitter and Google Plus profiles, help them get a new headshot, make sure that they truly understand. And then the other benefit there is they're at your partner summit, so they're tweeting about it right then and there. They're posting about it right then and there. Your partner summit's getting more exposure as well. So ensuring that you're educating partners in ways that are going to truly help them. And here are some ideas for teaching them about more than just your solutions. Certainly your solutions are important, and your product marketers would love to talk for days on end about that. But truly think about helping to build your partner's business. What is it that they are going to need to be successful? Some ideas: driving demand using social media, using LinkedIn to actively prospect, making your website a lead generation machine, launching a successful event, using Twitter for B2B, executing an integrated marketing plan. That, the integrated marketing plan is what's going to help your partners nurture. How many of you, and I wish we were face-to-face so I could see a bunch of hands raised, how many of you give your partners leads, which they're asking for, and then they never touch them? They don't understand how to nurture them. And then using Sales Navigator if that's of interest. That's a paid service within LinkedIn. I love it. It allows me to say, okay, I'm going to San Francisco next week. Who are all the people that I should be reaching out to? So number 4, lead by example. And I know this is tough because a lot of times the person within the channel organization who's enabling partners is not also the person within the channel organization who is communicating to those partners. So it's really important that you're leading by example, which might mean communicating and collaborating better with other team members as well. So again, remember, you're one of those vendors that partners are part of, and you're communicating to your partners through mobile apps and email and the good old-fashioned telephone. And I would even say good old-fashioned mail sometimes. But keep in mind that so are all of these other vendors. So it's so incredibly important that you're not bombarding your partners, which means you need to be leveraging and using social. One of the biggest mistakes that I see, however, when vendors get out there and start using social is that they just start talking about themselves. And that's not interesting to partners. That's not why someone is on Twitter or LinkedIn. And let's talk for a moment about why someone is on Twitter or LinkedIn. Usually, when they get an email from you, they could be doing anything. They could be in the midst of a sales call. They could be waiting at an airport. They could be about to log into their CRM system and start putting in some information. It's interrupting them. When they choose to go out to LinkedIn or to go out to Twitter, that's when they have downtime. So when you're communicating to them using these social platforms, you're hitting them at the best possible moment. But it's important that when they're reading you, when they're reading your Twitter handle, or they're reading your LinkedIn page, that they aren't feeling like it's just an advertisement for how great you are. It's just about awards you've won or solutions that are launching or products that they should know more about. Also, go out and find your partners. Again, if the only people following you are the partners that are tuned in already, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're getting all those other partners. We all know that 10% of your partners are really tuned in, another 20% are selling you as much as they're selling someone else, and the rest not so tuned in. So use your partner list to find those partners on social media. It'll do a couple of things. One, it shows them that you care enough about their business that you took the time to go out and find them. It also allows you to see what they're posting so that you can interact a little bit more with them. Connect with those partner executives on LinkedIn. Go to their website, go to their About page, see the executive. Now, I'm not expecting that those of you that are on the phone, everybody on this call is a channel executive, but hiring an intern or hiring a third party doesn't hurt. Having the ability to go out and find those partners and interact with them, find content on their website that's of interest, post that content out, make them see that this is a two-way relationship for you. It's not just about you pushing your product through them. And then follow their partner pages as well. So their LinkedIn pages, their Twitter handles also. Another thing to think about is build them a group. Have a group where your partners can get more information from you without having to look at all those emails. You could potentially invite them to that group or promote that you have a group on other communications. I know I'm being a little bit of a hypocrite, but if you're posting, someone once asked me when I was telling them how to use all these different social tools, they said, great, so what do we take off our plate? Like, can we not email anymore? Not so much. So as you are communicating about the value of social, it's really important that you also tell them about these social handles from the more traditional communications. Have your channel account managers put it in their signature block. Have your newsletter post information about the group every time. So it's really incredibly important that you are promoting all of your different touch points from all of the others. Newsletter from email, email from LinkedIn, LinkedIn from Twitter, and so on. Again, follow your company, your partner's company pages. This is a two-way relationship. It's important that you note not only how your partners are communicating about your products and solutions, but that you get to know those executives as well. When I was in channel marketing, it was always somewhat frustrating because I would send information to our partners about, let's say, a new resource, a new marketing resource we were providing. My emails got so many fewer opens than our channel account managers, but the channel account managers and field marketing managers are swamped as well. It's important that you as channel marketing start to build a relationship and show them that it's a two-way relationship. And then push their content from your Twitter profile and your handle as well. If they're doing something right, if they're doing something that you want to promote them for, make sure that whoever's managing your Twitter handle is doing that, knows who your partners are, knows who the named list is. You can also create a list within Twitter that whoever's managing that Twitter handle can look at and say, you know what, Presidio, for instance, just presented something that promoted our product. We're going to repost that, or we're going to mention them in a post. And don't forget to follow those partners. That's the key. You won't know what they're doing if you're not following them. Same is true for a Facebook page, although I'm kind of lukewarm on Facebook. I think for B2B it's not as important. And I wouldn't say, go tell all your partners to get on Facebook. If they're on it, great. We'll help them. You should be helping them make it more effective. But if they're not on it and they're not comfortable with it, I wouldn't push it. And other things to think about is making sure that you're talking about your partners on your own channel blog. So what are great things that partners have done? Not only promote them, but also give them that information that's going to help them market to end customers. Teach them how to do that in blog posts. Have it come from your executives so that they build more of a relationship with the executives as well. One of the best blitzes we did a bunch of blog posts before a quote-unquote partner world, partner summit type event. And then by making sure the executives knew all of their partners, they had followed all their partners on Twitter, they were setting up impromptu meetings in the middle of the show floor. I mean, how much impact would that have? You try to set up all these partner meetings, your executives can really only do a 30-minute meeting with so many people at a summit, but if they had a free 30 minutes and they could bump into or tweet to meet up with 10 people in an hour, that would be pretty impactful. Number 5, think about helping your partners build their audience. So making sure that they know that they have an audience and that they need to be able to find it. Partners have a lot of options out there. Make sure that they're not bored. Make sure that the partner's audience is choosing them and that they're interested in what they're getting when they tune in to your partners. That means that you really need to teach your partners to be relevant, to follow their customers on their social handle, to make sure that they're retweeting, stalking, reposting, congratulating, stalking, if you don't get it, stalking online in the most non-creepy way possible. So partners need to be out there communicating to their audience as well as attracting their audience by reciprocating, by posting their content. But again, one of the hardest things to teach your partner is how to not be a little creepy about it, how to not intimidate or annoy people because they're being too salesy with how they're doing it. A lot of times I will say, you know, go out and make these connections and repost a piece of their content and congratulate them about something, and then go silent for a couple of weeks, and then they'll tune back in. Almost like I'm giving dating advice. So number 6, encourage your partners to push relevant content. It's important that their audience is interested in what they're talking about, whether they find it on a news story or they find it on your blog. To be able to push that to their audience, it has to be relevant to their audience. Show them how to share that content. It's as simple as doing a quick update on LinkedIn or on Twitter, or there are so many aggregators out there. And the reason that I tend to focus on LinkedIn is at the end of the day, you're creating a list out of those audience members. So when your partners get more connections because they're pushing relevant content that people care about, those connections then become their mailing list. They can download directly from LinkedIn. How much more effective are people who know them and have heard about them than people they buy on a list? I mean, the people they buy on a list have no idea who they are, and they're not necessarily going to be engaging with your partners. Number 7, okay, now just give them the content. So I just told you to teach them to find the content. Sometimes that doesn't work. Sometimes you just need to hand them a spreadsheet and say, okay, fine, here is your content. Just copy and paste it and push it out. Of course, educate them on how to push it out first, but it's really important that they are pushing relevant content that isn't too salesy, and sometimes that means you just need to give them the content. So number 8, give partners the tools to push the content. They could log into LinkedIn, and they could log into Twitter, and they could log into every other platform out there. And if they have 5 executives, that means that potentially a marketing person or someone is logging in for 5 different people and trying to keep it straight. Other things that you should be teaching them, there are some quote-unquote no channel features out there. They're free, but they aren't channel specific. So you could teach your partners how to use TweetDeck, if this then that. Buffer is one that we really like. Pocket is one that we really like. Storify is another. Storify creates more of a newsletter. But all of these, they don't have a channel focus necessarily. So you're basically handing them this messy spreadsheet like that and hoping that they're copying and pasting it out on your behalf. Mobile apps are another great way to ensure that partners are pushing content out. And I should say on this, you know, I have the no channel features. There are so many platforms out there as well that do have channel-specific features, meaning you load the content, your partners can opt into a certain campaign or a certain solution, and then the content posts on their behalf as well. I would say if you're doing something like that, make sure you keep in mind the 70-30 split. So 70% of the time, partners are talking about just industry-relevant stuff, not promoting you, not promoting solutions, not promoting themselves, and then 30% of the time they can do that. So something to keep an eye on. And then certainly if you have a channel mobile app and your partners can then get your content on their phone, that might make it easier for them to then push it out to their audience as well. So think about what partners need as they're walking into a customer's door as far as information is concerned, whether it's digital specific or just about your solutions, and then consider what you do on a mobile app and what you don't. Like I wouldn't necessarily download an email and edit it and send it out, but I might take a look at some speaking notes about a particular product or solution, or I might look at Twitter. So look at who's signing up. Those are probably the people that you should be looking at for more of the social and digital. They're familiar with mobile apps, they're comfortable with them, they probably translate. And then remember that SEO is digital too, and I'm going to go through this pretty quickly because I want to leave time for questions. Finding keywords is key, and those of you on the phone if you're working directly with partners, it's important to understand what their keywords are and what will differentiate them from their competition. So make sure that they don't end up competing with you. You have much bigger SEO budgets, you're going to win. Make sure they're differentiating themselves slightly. And then once they find those keywords, they need to put them on certain places in the page, the title, the URL, the header, the first line of copy. That's only 25% of the equation, though, and even the links into the website are important from other sites of high authority, like your site or other large companies. None of these link farms that are trying to drive visits to a partner's website but have nothing to do with the same business. The other thing is Google is now looking at social posts and making sure that the social posts are using keywords as well. That means Google Plus is important if you want to help your partners rank for SEO. Anchor text also makes a difference. So in case A, the anchor text is what's highlighted, it's the hyperlink. To learn more about Company XYZ's work shift solutions, click here. We're optimizing the word, click here. That doesn't do your partners any good. Please visit Company XYZ. If that's your partner's company name, that's great, but someone then needs to know that company name to find them. That means they're not driving any visibility from people who don't already know them. And then visit Company XYZ to learn more about work shifting solutions. This is the best. This is what someone's going to search. That's my pain point. I need to solve it. And then hopefully they find your partners. So how do you help with SEO? Providing those educational videos that I mentioned, letting them use MDF to hire a third-party consulting service, and then better enable your field marketing teams to at least be able to look at a partner site and say, whoa, that is not SEO compatible. Or, hey, they're doing it, but there are a couple of changes. Let's go hire a third-party service. It's more important that your partners are feeling that they're getting this support from you, and then they're going to keep coming back to you as well. So number 10, make sure your partners feel the love. Highlight your partners and talk about the ones that have socialized correctly. Show, put them in a blog post, give them an award at your partner summit. Make sure that other partners feel like, hey, that's something that I wouldn't mind getting a reward for as well, and that they'll strive to do better next year. And then, of course, positive reinforcement. Help those partners feel successful. Amplify their posts via retweets and shares, and then interact with them on social. It's a great way to start the conversation, and you can then take it to the next level. And this will be drawing your partners to you more. So here's the summary. I'm going to stop talking and make sure that we have time for some questions. It's been such a pleasure to talk to all of you, talk at all of you, and now I would like you to join the conversation as well. So my contact info is here if anyone would prefer to ask questions via email, but would love to get some questions here today as well.
Great, thanks, Heather. We do have a couple questions, and if there's any other questions, please, now's a great time to go and fill those in the GoToMeeting questions section or GoToWebinar questions section. First, I saw a couple of people asked whether or not we'd be sending out a copy of the PowerPoint. Yeah, we'll be uploading that online as well as a recording, and send out those links once all that's processed and available. So everybody that's on this will get a copy of those. We'll have them out to you shortly, hopefully by the end of the week. And then getting into some of the questions that we have, one person asked, Heather, we've got 10 steps here. How do we prioritize these? If you're only able to start with one or two, where would you begin that journey?
Sure. So I think we did this in a certain order because it's important. You can't say to partners, okay, start pushing content if their LinkedIn profile is a mess. So it's really important that you at least help partners build their foundation. I would say, show them how to build an online presence so that when someone hears about them through word of mouth, or you give them a lead and that lead reaches out to them, when they go online, that prospect isn't thinking, who's this person? I don't know what they are going to be able to do for me. They have an awful online presence. So I would say at least build that foundation and start with the online presence. Educational materials can be really inexpensive if you have a subject matter expert internally and you want to just do a webinar. So those I would always suggest as well. And then leading by example is really incredibly important. So making sure that your communications team is totally tuned in to what you're trying to accomplish by communicating to partners, so that your partners then, when you're communicating through partners, is more successful as well.
Great, thanks, Heather. A great segue there on the first one around online presence. I've got a question here about outbound tactics. So, cold calling, cold email, the much harder sales cycle type stuff. Is that something that partners should still be doing in this framework, or does that just need to be replaced with some of these other items you talked about?
No, I think those things are still effective, but they need to happen in order. So first, you have to do all of these things on social and create that foundation and create that reputation for not being too salesy, so that when they call, it's a more informative call than the picture of that guy that I showed, the, hey, how you doing? I'd like to sell you a toaster. It really, then it's, hey, just checking in to make sure I saw that you downloaded our ebook. And that you opened our email. Is there anything else I can help you with? Do you have any other questions?
Great, thanks. Another question. This is all about creating leads. What's a best practice for following up with leads that are generated?
Yeah, nurturing those leads. So certainly that should go into a partner CRM system, and then you need to teach partners that go connect with that person on LinkedIn, so that every week when you're posting your relevant content, that person is reminded of your name, so that when they do have a pain point, they can reach out to you. Other things that are important, if it's a lead that's further into the funnel, just checking in with them in a more human interaction kind of way, not just an HTML email that they get once a week trying to nurture them, but actually reaching out to them. And sometimes what I'll do on LinkedIn, if I know I'm going to San Francisco or I know I'm going to New York City, I'll look on LinkedIn to see who's where, because people do business with people, not with logos. So if it means that I need to do a bunch of face-to-face meetings, it's probably going to be helpful to me, and that's another way to nurture those leads as well.
Great. Another one, to what degree do PRM platforms help partners implement the strategies you recommend here, i.e. pushing content, social listening, blogging, content marketing, etc.?
Yeah, those are huge, and I would love for Stephen to jump in here as well. I think the biggest value the PRM tool can provide is you know your partners better sometimes than they know themselves, and you know their targets sometimes better because you're tracking all of that. So enabling partners to leverage the tools that they might not be as comfortable with, marketing tools or sales tools, in something like a PRM system, that's really going to make them feel more comfortable and be sort of a no-brainer in the process as well. Stephen, anything to add on that?
Yeah, I think the only thing I would add to that is, and tie that all together, maybe, you got a PRM platform, but then, are you using a TPMA? You brought that up a little bit earlier in one of the slides, through partner marketing agency to tie that in, and loop everything back in together, right? And particularly around some of those partners who you realize aren't very good marketers, and you can create these pre-planned campaigns, fund them, and then the key is, once again, tying those leads back in.
Great, thanks, guys. That covers the questions we have here, so I think we'll call that a wrap. Heather, if you want to go back to the contact information slide, we've got contact information available. If you guys have additional questions, feel free to reach out to us. As I mentioned, we'll get the recording up and the slides out to you so you can go back and review and watch that buyer's journey video. Thank you so much for joining us today. Heather, big thanks to you for running this webinar and working with us on this. This has been great, and I hope that this information has been relevant and valuable and useful for everyone that's made it onto the webinar. So thanks for joining us today, and we'll look forward to connecting with you guys in the future.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.